Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar today. My name's David Sealey, I'm the Digital Strategy Partner at CACI, and today we're talking about enabling data-driven acquisition through a DMP, and this is a topic that's coming up with many of our clients at the moment, and we hope you're going to enjoy the subject that we're covering and that you'll find some useful pointers for your organization. Okay, what we're going to cover in this webinar are three areas. First one, we're going to talk about what is a data management platform or a DMP, and then we're going to talk about whether you need one and how to determine whether that's something you need to invest in. And then on the third point, if you do need to make that investment in a DMP, what should you do next? So we'll cover all of those and give answers to those questions. I think it's worth setting the scene a little bit for you today. One of the things that we've noticed happening and is driving the demand for data management platforms is the fact that clients today have more platforms that they need to manage. So as a customer, the customer may have a mobile phone, they may have a tablet, they might have a smart TV, they've got a laptop computer from work. They've got all of these different platforms they're using to access content and engage digitally with providers, including advertisers. And with that comes the second trend we're seeing, which is this trend around multi-screening. So someone who is working on a laptop at work, but then will be using their phone to check Facebook, or is watching TV on an evening and then is logging into their work emails to read emails later. So it's this habit we all have and have developed in the last few years of using multiple digital devices at the same time. The third point to mention is that there's more competition. So by that we mean there's more competition in the marketplace generally, buying audiences, spending money on media and advertising, and you as an organization need to be able to deal with that money that's flowing into the market and be much smarter about the way you're buying media and advertising to audiences. And then when you get those audiences inbound onto your own channels and your platforms, that you can be targeted and personalized in the way that you're communicating to that individual visitor. The fourth area for us is around the unexploited opportunity. So historically, when you were buying online advertising, you would maybe able to do a bit of targeting in terms of the audiences or the websites you were placing adverts on. But actually, as this has become more sophisticated, it's now possible to actually start to follow individual people or individual audiences around the internet. And this is something that some organizations are beginning to get to grips with, but there is still opportunity there for organizations, and a data management platform enables that the ability to reach out to people and advertise to them on other third-party websites through personalized display adverts. So when I use this term audience, I think it's important to understand exactly what it is we mean. Now, we use this rough breakdown when we talk to clients and to make sure we have terminology right. And I guess this is what I want to do today, is make sure we've got this straight in our heads. Typically, when you're looking at audiences for your business, you have a huge unknown audience. There's 52 million people in the UK. You've got this group of people who you don't know, and you'll be trying to target to them and help give them awareness of your product. So traditionally that's always been done through above-the-line advertising methods, so using TV advertising, press advertising, buying display banners and media through major publishers, so you could reach those audiences and speak to them, but not necessarily be too targeted in the way you were doing that. You then have this identifiable group of people. So within this group, you've got people who visited your website, installed your mobile app, liked your Facebook page. You have some type of identifier you can put to the individual person, but you can't necessarily link those identifiers, and it's very difficult to then use that information on your own website because the data is not passed across. So one of the traditional ways of using this data is to do retargeting. So someone comes and visits your website, you can then use Google to retarget to that individual and serve them with an advert to come back and encourage them back in. We now move on to the next group, and the distinction here is that we now know a name, an address, and some personal identifiable information about this person. So this is where you can start to be much smarter and start to do inbound personalization. So if they call your call center, you can display the right prompts to the call center agent. If they come to your website, you can personalize the website, or you could do pop-up messages on the website suggesting the next best thing the customer should do. The fourth group is the opted-in base of known customers. So they're still known like the other group, but effectively these people have given you consent to send them direct messages, be it emails, letters, outbound call center. They've given you that specific consent to do this. Now traditionally we've always viewed this, that the value of the audiences increases as they move from the unknown pile through the identifiable stage to the known stage and to the opted-in stage. Effectively the worth of those customers is increasing. What a DMP does though is it levels the playing ground across those audiences. So the unknown group of customers, providing you know some individual customers, you can start to buy lookalike audiences. So whilst these lookalike audiences will be unknown to you, they're actually audiences of cookies that you can buy into and serve with personalized, or very targeted at least, dynamic display adverts on the internet as they surf around different sites. So effectively we've connected our opted-in base of customers with the unknown group, and that also comes from the identifiable side up. So when a customer visits your website traditionally, they'll leave behind a cookie ID, whereas now you can now merge that information of what pages they visited on your website back into the opted-in base of customers, or the known group of customers. We then come on to this question, right? So we've established the need, we've established why the marketplace needs to invest in a DMP, but let me just explain what one is. So there's four core components to the DMP. The first is that they collect data, so they're gathering data all the time from your website, mobile app, potentially receiving a feed of data from till systems if you're a retailer, or a CRM system if you run a big call center. All of that data can be collected into the data management platform, and then it is unified, so the data is connected, joined and matched. So you're able to connect the person who's been on your website with the person who's downloaded the mobile app, because you've created unique identifiers across what you're doing. The third area is of a DMP, the third component, sorry, is that you can then create audiences with all of the information the DMP's collected. So typically the DMPs aren't particularly smart in how they do that, but they allow a marketer to set up rules and say, find me people who visited this page on my website, or who have this data flag attributed to them. And then with all of that data and information, you can then start to push messages to the individual audiences via multiple channels, and we'll touch on what some of those channels look like in a bit. So that push out to the marketing platforms is often called activation in the DMP world. So an example of that: customer John Smith walks into a bank and signs up for a new mortgage. So that's what John's done. He's done all of his paperwork, he's got the mortgage, and he walks out of the bank. And he is known to the bank now. He's a known customer in their customer database, whether it's a CRM system or whatever it is. Doesn't matter. The bank know him as an individual. But then John gets home and he goes onto the bank's website, We Finance, and he comes to the site. Now the site can instantly identify John and give him a cookie ID, but effectively, because John hasn't authenticated himself, he hasn't signed in, there is no way that the bank can link his branch customer profile with this visit and this ID that he's using. John, however, then signs into his online bank account. So in this case now he's become an authenticated user, and we can determine that he has a mortgage. Similarly, we can buy data from publishers and merge that into our database, so second-party data in this case. And in this instance, we've got tracking through the Financial Times, and the Financial Times are able to tell us that John has a wealth management interest. With with this then comes the ability to buy demographic information against a cookie as well. So in this case, John, the company, the client, could go out and buy CACI's online audience data to match demographics against John's profile. So here we've got everything we need to create a segmentation. We've got CRM data from the bank systems. We've got the in-branch visit data of John signing up for his mortgage. We've got the site visits themselves, but we've also got demographic information as well coming from CACI. And then how we use this, so we're into the activation stage now. So John visits the website. Because we once authenticated John, we can now identify that he's interested in wealth management, because that's what he was looking at on the Financial Times website, and we instantly personalize the homepage to show wealth management. We're using data that we've got from an external source to personalize the experience. A similar thing here on autotrader.com. So not a website the bank owns, but Autotrader very aggressively sells advertising on its website. And in this case, John's come onto the website, but because we've identified the cookie, once the dynamic display advert loads, it picks up and connects that to John's profile, and he's got another personalized message error: managing wealth, not accounts. So that wealth management play again. And here in an email, so there's another opportunity to activate the content that the data management platform holds and bring that into an email marketing piece that John would receive. So how do you take action across channels? And I think this is a crucial question for many of our clients. Well, firstly, you've got to start with the knowledge and understanding of the client. So in this case, we want to understand their traits as a customer, what segments they belong to, whether there's been any deduplication of the data, and if there has, how well matched is data against one another. So if I upload 2 cookies, can it work out that both those cookies belong to just one customer, based on maybe some other identifiers that get passed around. The next stage then is activation, which I mentioned earlier. So you've got off-site display adverts. You can also create on-site personalized adverts. You could use your app to serve marketing messages as well. Social advertising is possible. Outbound telemarketing is another area that can require consent, and CRM is definitely required as well to then draw that information in from the DMP, but also to push information back to the DMP at the same time. So Adobe's Audience Manager product is one that's been very popular recently. So what that can do for a marketer is effectively, traditionally, I should say, most of the budget has been focused just on general media buying, with a bit of stuff done on site retargeting. And then you've got this massive overlap in terms of prospecting, which is that you may have a prospect for one product in a business, but actually what you're unaware of is that another part of the business is already trying to sell something else to that client as well. So you're advertising when actually you're already in a sales cycle with someone. So in this case, Adobe Audience Manager or a data management platform can bring your prospecting data and your site targeting data together, combine those two elements, and help you be much smarter, as we've shown in this picture here. So we have site retargeting again, which is very customer-centric. We then have cross-sell abilities, that's customer-centric targeting, and then we have modeled customer-centric targeting. So in this case, we're trying to find people who look like the customer. Probably not an exact match, but we're saying, ooh, the client likes 20. They're interested in a mortgage, and they've looked at the page 20 times, and therefore we can decide whether we do a display advert to that person or whether we serve them with an email. Effectively, we can make the right choice for that individual customer. So we have a single conversation with customers. We're able to upsell and cross-sell opportunities. We can do lookalike modeling to find customers we like and look like our customers already, and we can be efficient in our media buying as well. So the question now that you should be asking is, based on what you're hearing about DMPs, they sound great, but do you really need to go out and buy one? So the answer from us is that we are of the belief that every company eventually will have invested in a DMP either directly themselves or via their media buying agency. The only exception we count on that is organisations who aren't buying digital display media, but in effect, they will still need something similar to a DMP to do better site retargeting. Okay, so before I answer the question, I think you need to think about whether, if you made the investment tomorrow in a DMP, would you be ready to get a return from it, both in terms of your business case, and then would you have the right people, data, processes, campaigns, and the content to actually make a DMP work for you? Because it's not necessarily as simple as just turning on a black box solution. So in terms of formulating the business case, you need to be able to work out if you can get an ROI off the investment. So I'm keen to stress the point that a good ROI calculation is done based on net gain. So what you need to be thinking about is, if we're at the moment getting an ROI of X from our marketing without a DMP, how much does that change by with the DMP? It's not just a number on its own to say, oh, look at this number, it's very impressive. You may find that your marketing at the moment without a DMP is very impressive. It's the net gain you get from having one versus not having one that you're working out an ROI upon. And that net gain comes down to two elements. It comes down to sales, but also the acquisition cost as well. So in terms of sales, we'd expect to see improved conversion rate, and marketers are reporting seeing 5 to 10% improvements in conversion rate by having a DMP. It's going to improve customer retention, so you lose less of your book each year. Increased average order value is an option as well, and then you've got the ability to do cross-channel lead nurture because you can push the DMP data into multiple channels. The other area is acquisition costs. So you've got reduced media wastage. So again, there's some pretty impressive stats here, which is that there's been a reported 20 to 50% improvement in media spend post DMP purchase. So huge for some organizations opportunity to strip out some costs. You've got improved targeting that can come from it as well, so you're not targeting irrelevant people, you're only targeting those who are most like your customers or who you have profiled to be like your customers. And then because of all of those factors we've looked at already, you get improved cost per acquisition of customer because effectively you don't have to spend as much as you used to bring them in as a customer. The other element of this that I often consider that marketers should think about is whether they have the right strategy, the right technology, the right data, people, processes, campaigns, and content to make a DMP work for them. So when we come to strategy and you have a DMP that can serve personalized adverts throughout the lifespan of your customer's interaction with you, how do those interactions in terms of the audiences you're buying feed into your strategy? Are you purely doing it to try and sell more things to a small base and enjoy the growth of that? Or actually is your consideration to do big, clever, customer experience-based marketing programs? Next point is the technology. So which of your systems will use the data the DMP produces? Data in itself, I think there's an argument here to say an organization has to be very data fluent before investing in a DMP. They need to be used to selecting audiences, working with personalized dynamic content, and then that links to people and processes as well. So I know I would get an angry call right now from sorry, I lost my train of thought there. If you've not got the right processes in place, I know I'd get an angry call from our legal team if I'm trying to run dynamic adverts in the banking sector, because effectively they want to sign off on every advert they see. With that then comes the campaigns and the content themselves. So actually, what campaigns are you feeding in to your DMP, and what's it running when you're buying display adverts and when you're serving personalized content on your website as well. So do you need a DMP? So 6 questions, technically 7 because I've stuck 2 questions on one line, but I'm sure you'll forgive me for that. Let me go through these. So what are your objectives? Are you clear on what you want to achieve by buying a DMP? if you are clear on what you expect to achieve, when you look at the KPIs that you're currently achieving, what KPI improvements are you going to want to see, because that will feed your business model and the business case you put in front of those who have to make the investment decision. How are you going to measure the improvements? So if you roll out the DMP tomorrow, the day after, what tool will you look at to say, yes, this has worked? What data are you going to use? So we've talked about first and second party data today. What data are you going to push into the DMP? And how are you going to make that data available? So if you're doing a daily upload of data, how does that work? And then two other final questions. Who's going to use the DMP and what training do they require? And then finally, how will the DMP fit as part of a broader customer journey? So if I, as a customer, come to a website once and I hit a landing page, what then happens? What does the DMP do with that information? And how long after my first visit are you going to start retargeting me? And how would you measure the effect of targeting me again after 2 days, 4 days, 5 days? It's the big questions to ask. So what next? Well, our view of the world is this, and where you start from is based on where you are in this process. So the very beginning phase in the blue arrow is to build the business case. Once you've got the business case, then you begin the design of your system with the DMP. Then you move on to implementation, and then you move finally, the last stage is actually running with the technology and making it work. So some specific ideas below those, you've got opportunity mapping for the business case, which happens quite early. So that's about looking at all of the opportunities presented to you by having a DMP, trying to put a rough scale in terms of the revenue you'd expect off of those opportunities, and then using that to pick out some of the quick wins that will really have an effect on your business performance. We have two areas under design, both the vendor specification and selection, so actually going out to the market, finding the right vendor for you, reviewing your requirements with them, and then buying it. Doing the commercial negotiations that come with that. And then you've got the technical design piece, which is working out how are we going to flow data into our DMP, how will it be integrated, how's it going to run in real time, what about third-party systems and tools, how will they access the data. All of those considerations need to be made there. Block 4 is about implementing the DMP, so you're putting tags on your website, you're rolling out the mobile software development kit so you can actually get data from your mobile app. And then finally you've got the operations and optimization piece that goes with this, which is using the DMP on a day-by-day basis, and have you defined who that user of the DMP is and what can they do with it in order to optimize the output and make sure that you're getting the maximum value. So the honest question here is, have you done each of these steps in turn? So you may have done a vendor spec and select. My point to you, if you've not done this, would be to go back and do an opportunity mapping and business case exercise to make sure that you really are focused in your technical design and implementation on the objectives you have to achieve. That's all from me today. We've gone through those slides. We're going to be circulating more information online about this, and if you would like to discuss data management platforms with CACI, please do get in contact with us. Thank you for listening.